What's up, everybody? Nico Dwyer back for the 10th inning, here with another episode of This Day in Sports History. In yesterday's episode, we saw Dan Herron become one of only a few pitchers to notch a victory against all 30 Major League Baseball teams. We don't have anything quite like that today, but we do have a hitting milestone to talk about in the MLB, as well as some PGA championships and some more Olympic Games to talk about. So if y'all enjoy this video, leave a like on it. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Let's get to it. This Day in Sports History. We start out today in 1929 in Major League Baseball. In the second game of a doubleheader, 42-year-old Cardinal right-hander Grover Cleveland Alexander would earn his final career victory of 373, pitching the final 4 innings in the team's 9-7 victory over the Phillies. Old Pete would retire next season, but this would be his last victory. Tied with fellow Hall of Famer Christy Mathewson for the most victories in National League history, good for third all-time with 373, including a National League record 90 shutouts. We now move up to the Olympics at 1936, and for the first time, the Olympic cycling road race would be conducted as a mass start event, with Frenchmen Robert Charpentier and Guy Lapébie taking the gold and silver respectively, while France would win the team gold medal. 8 years later, back to Major League Baseball, this time in the Braves game, Red Barrett would throw a shutout, and he only needed 58 pitches to accomplish this in a 2-0 victory over the Cincinnati Reds. Now, while 58 pitches does sound crazy, maybe the even crazier part would be this game only took 1 hour and 15 minutes, 75 minutes, which would be a record. On the day, Barrett, 9 innings pitched, 2 hits allowed, 0 walks, 0 strikeouts. 5 years later, we moved to boxing in 1949, and Ezzard Charles would win via technical knockout over Gus Lesnovich in 8 rounds to defend the heavyweight title in his first defense, after Lesnovich did not come out in the 8th round. We move all the way up to 1971 now, and at Metropolitan Stadium in Minneapolis, Twins Harmon Killebrew would become only the 10th player to join the 500 home run club when he would hit the homer in the first inning off of Baltimore Orioles' Mike Cuellar. Later in the game, Killebrew would connect for one more to get number 501, but Killebrew's 2 home runs were not enough to defeat the Orioles in 10 innings in the Orioles' 4-3 victory. 4 years later, we get to the PGA Championship in 1975, and Jack Nicklaus, with a score of 4 under, would win his 4th PGA crown, 2 shorts ahead of runner-up Bruce Crampton, to win his 14th of 18 majors. And we stick with Jack Nicklaus, this time in 1980 at the PGA Championship. Nicklaus, with a score of 6 under, would win his 5th and final PGA Championship, 7 strokes ahead of runner-up Andy Bean to claim his 17th of 18 majors. We stay in golf in 1980, but this time move to the women's side at the Canadian Open. Pat Bradley, with a score of 15 under, would win 1 stroke ahead of runner-up Joanne Connor to win her first of 6 majors. Back to Major League Baseball now 1 year later in 1981, Pete Rose would notch his 3,631st career hit, breaking Stan Musial's NL hit record, and this would take place after the midseason strike. Rose had to wait 2 months to finally get this hit after tying the mark in June, but in this game he would single to the opposite field off of Mark Littell. Rose would be congratulated on the field by Stan Musial. Now we move to 1984 and we have some Olympic Games to talk about. First, in basketball, at the Los Angeles Olympics, the United States would defeat Spain 96-65 to win the men's basketball gold medal, and you would have future Dream Team members such as Michael Jordan, Patrick Ewing, and Chris Mullin featuring in this team. The U.S. would go 8-0, clean sweep, win the gold medal easily. Then in canoeing, Ian Ferguson of New Zealand would win 2 canoeing gold medals in one day, taking the K1 500 and K2 500 with Paul McDonald. We stick with canoeing but move over to the women's side. Sweden's Agneta Andersson would take out the women's canoeing 500-meter double, winning the K1 500 and the K2 500 with Anna Olsen. 4 years later, we go to a world record in 1988 at the Olympic trials, and Matt Biondi of the United States would swim a world record 100-meter freestyle in 48.42 seconds. This would be something he would hold for 6 years. Now we move all the way up to 1997. At the 36th edition of the Walker Cup, the US would just flat out dominate the British Isles, winning 18-6 to claim their 29th of 35 victories. Also in 97, in Major League Baseball, the Atlanta Braves would sign Greg Maddux to a then record contract of 5 years, $57.5 million. Boy, how times have changed, considering Bryce Harper, not even the most, got a $300 million contract. But we stick with baseball 1 year later in 1998. Joining Jimmy Foxx, Lou Gehrig, and Babe Ruth, Albert Bell would become only the fourth player, at the time, to drive in 100 runs and hit 30 home runs in 7 consecutive seasons. Bell, who played in every game that season, would continue the streak the next year for the Orioles, but again, he would not be the last to do this. Albert Pujols would join him as well. We move to the West Coast now in 2002, but stay in baseball. Barry Bonds would break another Giant slugger's Major League record when he would receive his 46th intentional walk of the season, surpassing the mark made by Willie McCovey in 1969. This would be Bonds' third intentional walk of the day, issued by the Pirates to Bonds, and it would prove to be costly when Benito Santiago would follow with a grand slam to put the team ahead 8-3, and they would end up winning 8-3. 6 years later, we move to 2008, and we start at the PGA Championship when Padraig Harrington would win his second straight major, 2 strokes ahead of runners-up Sergio Garcia and Ben Curtis, to claim his third of 3 majors. Then we move to the Olympics in 2008, and we start with cycling. Nicole Cook would win the road race at the Beijing Olympics, giving Great Britain their 200th overall gold medal in the modern Olympic Games. Then in swimming in 2008, American star swimmer Michael Phelps would win the 400-meter individual medley in world record time 4 minutes, 3.84 seconds, a record he still owns today. This would also be the start of another record, the first of 8 gold medals for Phelps at these Olympics. 4 years later, we go to 2012, and we have a trade that formed a, quote, Big Three for the Los Angeles Lakers. Dwight Howard would be traded to the Lakers from the Magic in a 4-team trade to form the, quote, Big Three of Kobe Bryant, Steve Nash, and Dwight Howard. Move up 1 year to 2013, and the 14th edition of the Athletics World Championships would open in Moscow, Russia. 1 year after that, in 2014, at the PGA Championship, Rory McIlroy, with a score of 16 under, would win his second PGA Championship, 1 stroke ahead of runner-up Phil Mickelson. As of right now, this is his 4th and final major. We end today's video off in 2016 with 3 separate events in Rio de Janeiro. First, in the 50-meter pistol, South Korean Jin Jong-oh would recover from 7th place during the finals to record an Olympic record 193.7 points. By winning gold, he would also become the first shooter to win 3 consecutive Olympic gold medals in one event. Then in swimming, 18-year-old Australian Kyle Chalmers would cause a huge upset when he would swim a junior world record 47.58 to win the gold in the men's 100-meter freestyle. Finally, in weightlifting, Nijat Rahimov of Kazakhstan would set a world record 214 kilograms in the clean and jerk and finish with an overall 379 kilograms to win in the men's 77 kg weight class. So there you have it. That's what happened on this day in sports history. If I left anything out, I do apologize. If I mispronounced any names, I also apologize. But I'll see everybody tomorrow for Nico Dwyer and the 10th inning. See ya.